Well, it's been nearly 2 months since the devastating wildfires on Maui. Obviously, it's been a tremendously difficult time for the people of Lahaina and West Maui. Also, for other families watching the tragedy unfold across the state, really across the country. We're lucky to have Dr. Shaylin Chalk with us for this special edition of Healthier Hawaii as we talk a little bit about having that conversation with children. She's a psychiatrist, adolescent and child psychiatrist at Kapiolani Medical Center for Women and Children, also an assistant professor in the Department of Psychiatry at the John A. Burns School of Medicine. So this, as I mentioned, has had a toll, an emotional toll on everybody in our state. Our heart hurts for people over there, and many of us know people over there. But I think one of the things that hasn't really been covered enough is how children, how our keiki are responding to this tragedy. Can you give us some tips to begin broaching that subject, to begin having that conversation with our children who may be having a really hard time wrapping their mind around this, Doctor?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is exactly what you just said, having that conversation. So checking in with your kids, asking them, how are you doing? Asking them what they know about what's going on over on Maui, and helping them to kind of fill in those gaps and spaces. Because sometimes what happens is children and adults tend to fill in the space with information that they kind of make up. It's things that they don't know, so they kind of fill the gaps in. So I think the big thing is to make sure that you as a parent can clarify that information with them and answer questions and talk to them in language that they understand, right? So obviously you would talk to a 3 or 4-year-old differently than you would a 16 or 17-year-old.
Another part of this, and this is a struggle for adults as well, because we see so many different things, conspiracy theories, all kinds of things that are kind of bubbling up online, the good, the bad. What is your advice to kind of monitor and maybe try and regulate, if that's the right thing to do, or what children are seeing coming in from social media, even from the news?
Yeah, so the teenagers, I think, I'm gonna kind of address that in 2 age groups. So the teenagers, you're gonna, as a parent, have a really difficult time limiting social media, right? I think that's a struggle that we all have. I think the biggest thing that you can do in those situations or cases that actually maybe you yourself as a parent can pull something up that you've seen on social media and say, hey, look, I saw this. What do you think about that? That's kind of one way to start opening that conversation with them. So kind of helping your teenager kind of navigate through that and letting them know that you're always there to answer questions and to help them kind of move through that space. And then if you shift to our little guys, right? They tend to take in a lot of passive consumption of media, things that you and I might not even think about. So if you have your kids in the car and you're driving to school, they're actually listening to all of those news stories that they hear on the radio. Some families tend to have their televisions on while they're cooking dinner or cleaning the house. So I would honestly say for your little ones, if you can consume and get your information and news in a way that is maybe separate from when your children are there, so that you actually have control as a parent of what they know and what they understand.
Any other advice that you can give parents?
Sure, kids really want to feel empowered and they want to feel helpful. So I would say that if you as a family are doing something to support our community on Maui, get your children involved. Some kids just want to be able to write letters or write notes that you can maybe send off over to Maui, helping them to kind of bridge that gap of feeling that I'm helpful to my community and recognizing that I am part of this community.
Dr. Shaylin Chalk with us. Thank you for making this a Healthier Hawaii.